Hello, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Unapologetic Entrepreneur podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Today is going to be such a great episode. And I feel like I say that about all the episodes because I really do feel like they are great. This one is really off the cuff of I am really feeling this. I have experienced hearing this specific word in almost every single one of my coaching sessions that I'm doing with clients. And I just feel the pull to share this with you. And it's all about overthinking. And the idea that we overthink so many decisions, so many plans, and it leads us to not finishing something. Whether it's a project, a goal, a dream, whatever the case is, we can overthink so many things. And I am pointing all 10 fingers back at myself because I do this as well. So that's what I want to talk to you today. And I'm not going to share all of my examples. I share a lot of my examples, but I thought, you know what? It'll actually be really helpful if I share my clients' examples. So I reached out, got all their permission. So thank you to several of my clients who I reached out to and said, hey, can I use this? You know who you are. Thank you so much. I know it's going to help so many people because all of us tend to think like, oh, I'm the only one doing this. And so I know that by hearing other people and experiencing these stories, it's going to help you know you are not alone in this overthinking battle that we have as entrepreneurs. So let's dig in. This is the Unapologetic Entrepreneur Podcast, a podcast for passionate entrepreneurs just like yourself who are looking to create a profitable and productive business that you are proud of. On this show, we explore entrepreneurship success stories, but not just the highlights. We get into the nitty-gritty details so that you know more about the path traveled to achieve that success. See, I'm on a mission to help you never feel like a failure again when it comes to achieving your goals. And so much of that is setting realistic expectations of the effort needed, goals that align with the season of your life, and ensuring that you have the accountability in place that you need. So on this podcast, you can expect real conversations, practical tips, and lots of encouragement along the way, so that you have everything you need to follow through and actually achieve your definition of success. So if you're ready to go from unsure to unapologetic, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. So there is one thing that helps me every single time I'm overthinking. And I know I told you I was going to share examples, and I will, but I do want to tell you that this one thing is the thing that helps me get through that overthinking feeling. And first and foremost, you have to know you're overthinking. Sometimes it's not super clear, but a lot of the times it is. And we just need to acknowledge, I am overthinking this. I am dedicating too much time and energy into this when it really needs to be moving forward. Now, some things we really do need to take time and think about, of course, but you know that there's a line when it's like, I'm probably overthinking it. So when you get to that point, when I recognize that point in my life and in my business, there is one thing that I do every time, and it is reach out and talk to someone else. Now, sometimes it just depends on what the situation is, what the decision is, all things considered. Like some of that time, I go talk to Michael, my husband, and he helps me make a decision or whatever it is. Sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a biz bestie or several of them, and sometimes that person is a coach. When I'm working with a coach, that is the person that I'm typically going to with business stuff. I'm paying them for their time and their energy and their effort, and so I go to them generally first. But there are several biz besties that I go to, and even in this moment that I'm recording this, I am going to do a few different coaching sessions with a few coaches. And after those sessions, I actually have some time on the calendar with some biz besties, and we just scheduled like a walk and talk. So we're going to walk around the neighborhood, and I'm going to debrief them and tell them the decisions that were made. And so I've really built in several layers of accountability with this because I know I need it. And that is part of this, is being really self-aware, like I'm overthinking and what do I need to get through this? So talking to someone else is one of the most important things that you could do because it's going to help you. Now, sometimes that person is going to help you make a decision or move through something, create a plan for something. But oftentimes it's simply talking and getting out of your own head, and you really talk yourself to the answer yourself. That is the most wonderful thing. And so this brings me to my first client example. So I have a client who was really overthinking a business pivot, and she had been thinking about this idea and it's not a super stretch for her business. It was a simple pivot, but it felt like a big one to her. And I totally understand that. I overthink every pivot, and I totally understood where she was coming from. But she was really overthinking the idea of how she could do it and what words to use. And we really just talked through this during one of the coaching sessions, and we talked about what she wanted to do. You're not going to hear the whole thing. You're going to hear a little clip of her aha moment, because this aha moment is going to live with me for the rest of my life. This is one of those moments that I don't know that I'll ever forget it, because it brought her to tears, and it was so precious and so sweet. And I'm so grateful that this gets to be part of my job. But she was simply sharing with me what she wanted to do. I asked her before the clip that you're going to hear, I was asking her, what do you want to do? What brings you joy? What is it that's really on your heart? And she just started talking. And she started talking through what she really wanted to do. And what you're going to hear is the very tail end of that, where she says, I want, and then she'll tell you what she wants. And then I basically repeat back to her what she wants. And then you'll hear the aha moment where she has tears in her eyes. You can't see it in this podcast, of course, but she has tears in her eyes, and you can hear it in her voice. And she says, Amanda, that's it. It's so beautiful. I can't wait for you to listen to this. So let me hit play on the clip.
That's exactly what I want to do, but I want to teach people in their kitchen how to get rid of chemicals and how to make food. So I'll show them things that you can buy. We're not at the grocery store, but then, recipes and how to make it look, this is how you don't have sugar-free recipes that are good and, and all kinds of things. But it's basically getting all the toxins and chemicals out of your house. That's what it comes down to.
You just made a huge narrowing. That's what it is. So it's you help busy moms get the toxins out of their house.
Yeah.
Out of their house and out of their body. Gosh, I love this so much. I'm so excited for you. Of course, you can change any of these words, but I wrote it. It's in the document for you. Highlighted it. So good. So good.
And this is it.
It's it.
Yeah. This is it. Yeah. And I've written this, but I've written it so much more complicated than that. I've written it so many times, and I have. It's the word toxins in there, but it's that long compared. So I was like, that's it in a sentence. Yeah.
That's it. You said it. I just pulled it out.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that you're having this moment right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I want you to just write about this. And every time you create any piece of content, I don't care what it is, I want you to write to her. I want you to write to that overwhelmed mom who's like, how do I do it?
Yeah.
How do I go from having so many cleaners under my sink
Yeah.
and just taking one at a time?
Mm-hmm.
That one gets me every time. I promise you, I'm going to remember that forever. So thank you so much, Carrie, for letting me use this. I just really appreciate it. I'm so thankful. I know I told you in the email, but thank you again. I want you to hear my voice. Thank you for allowing me to play that clip. It was so special, and I'll never forget it. And another client of mine was really overthinking a content decision. This is one that I have run into with almost every client. And it's because once you know what you want to do in your business, you really have to think about, how am I attracting those clients in? And usually speaking, we have a content conversation about what content are you putting out. And so this particular client, Amy, was really struggling to figure out which one she was going to choose. Now, before I share this audio clip with you, I need to give a few caveats of this. Number one, I have been working with Amy for over a year, so I know what she needs in terms of what type of coaching she needs. I know what she responds to, and it's important to keep in mind that there have been several conversations about content related to her business, this was not the first one. And I say that because I'm a little more punchy in this one than you've probably ever heard. And it's in a good way. It's because she was overthinking something and she was going to keep going with that if I didn't call it out. And so, Amy, thank you for letting me play this clip. I really appreciate you. And just so you know, Amy and I are still working together. She's amazing, doing amazing things. And you'll love this very raw and honest clip. So let me hit play. And it was just proof that like you don't have to do this in any way, shape, or form like anyone else has done it. You can do it the way it works for you. And the best way it's going to work for you is to pick the content that you can be consistent with.
Okay. Well, I need to do some research then. What would be best for me?
Nope. I'm going to stop you right there. You don't need to do any research whatsoever. Your audience will read if you write it, they will listen if you speak it, and they will watch if you record it. Your audience is on all of them. You have to decide what you want to do.
Yeah. I think blogging is by far the hardest for me. It takes a lot of brain power that I don't necessarily always have.
Here's the great news. If you do audio or video, you take the transcript, put it in ChatGPT, it writes the blog. Done. Super simple. Super duper simple. Takes a little bit to find your rhythm. Very easy. Very, very easy. And Gemini does it too. Doesn't have to be ChatGPT. So both of those. So now you've narrowed one down. Now it's audio or video. You just pick.
Okay.
Don't overthink it. You can always change.
I don't know.
You can always, always, always change. And the technology is easy to figure out. You can use what you have. The video you have right now in front of your face, beautiful. That works for video. The microphone, I've never heard you cut out with those AirPods. You're good if you want to start a podcast, right? So like either way, you're fine with what you're doing. You can always upgrade stuff later. So I told you I was a little punchy on that one, and I'm sure you were like, oh, you really were. But it's so needed sometimes we just have to go in and have that feedback of like, you are overthinking this and you've got to move forward. Because this idea, and very specifically, I called this out in this, and I wanted to bring this clip in because she said, I need to do more research. More research is a key phrase as a red flag. Now, we all need to do some research, for sure. I want you to do research when you're making decisions in your business. Please don't just do things willy-nilly all the time. But when you keep saying, I need to do more research, it's a red flag. I need you to start catching that for yourself if you're not working with a coach, if you're not talking to people on a regular basis to have that accountability in place. If you keep falling into the trap of more research, you will never finish your project. I promise you won't. You will be in analysis paralysis forever. It is not fun. You got to get out of it. So just pick something and move forward. You can always change it. I said that in the clip to her. You can always change it. It's okay to pivot later, but you have to move forward with something or you'll just sit in that indecision and overthinking for way too long. So another client of mine was really starting to overthink a revenue transition. And when we started working together, she was really thinking about wanting to create a new offering. But when we started digging into it, what she really wanted to do was let go of some things and lean into another thing for her revenue. Very specifically, she wanted to replace $1,400 in her business with a new offering. And so she was really in her head about how to make that happen. So that plan was really sticky for her. She was really thinking like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. There was a lot of options. And there are a lot of options of what you can do with your particular situation and your particular plan if you're looking to do the same thing and make a transition of revenue. But if you overthink it and don't take action, you'll never move forward and you'll be stuck in that same revenue all the time and you won't make that transition happen. And so what we were talking about was creating a plan where she would really understand how to make that pivot. So the first step in that was figuring out the math. And so that was a lot of our conversation during this session, is we figured out the exact math of what she needed to replace, how she could do it, some ideas. And really, she walked away with like, okay, I understand the finances a lot more from this session. And that is so key, because once you know the finances, you can then figure out how you want to tackle them. But that was an important part. And what we did is we created a plan for her, and then she walked away. But when you work with me, so often, we only have a short amount of time together on Zoom, right? I can't just sit with you all day. That's not going to be fun for anyone. So what happens is I can't stop thinking about your business. Like, this is just something that I've realized. Some people can do it and turn it on and turn it off. I can't. When I'm working with someone, I go all in. This is why I like working with people for a long period of time. Because when I think about your business, it's not just for 30 minutes or 1 hour or however many sessions we have. Like, I think about your business when I'm sitting out by my pool, when I'm going on a walk. Like, I'll think of an idea. The reason I'm saying this is because the clip you're going to hear from this particular client is actually only me talking. Because what happened is we got off the call and I had this moment of like, I know exactly what she could do. We had kind of mapped out a plan, but she had to make some decisions about it. Like, that was her next steps of making some decisions about how she was moving forward. But then I realized, oh my gosh, I think I figured it out, what she could do. This would be the easiest way. And so I very quickly got on Loom and recorded a quick video, like a 5-minute video, which is what you're going to hear, and sent her this video of like, this is what you could do. I would really recommend this. And the reason I'm saying this is because when you work with someone like myself, you can often get the answer either from talking it out, or that person can really come to the table with an answer. So after everything, my client Jenna said this to me, and so I wanted to read her words before you hear me share this example. But she said, I thought I should know what to do, but when I'm caught up in the details, it's hard to see clearly. I appreciate you taking time to sort it through with me without making me feel silly and helping me create a simple, realistic plan to hit my goals. And that's what I wanted you to hear before you hear my example, because this specific example, I mean, take it and use it if it works for you. But the idea here is that she came to the table feeling like she should know the answer. And when we are just in the details and just swimming in the mud of everything, we can't know the answer right away. It's too hard. I can't do it for myself, and you can't do it for you. You have to find what works for you, and that's often talking to people and really taking that first step and really getting the ideas out of your head. So let me hit play on that video so you can hear that example. Hello, Jenna. So after I get off of these coaching calls, I always go back in and really refine what I wrote, because I'm writing usually too fast during the call. So when I was doing this, I was looking through the finances part, and I was like, okay, she's doing this, but then we talked about the workshop, and we hadn't talked about that when we were looking at the math part. So I then thought about the workshop, and I don't know what you charge for your workshop. Generally speaking, $50 is for a workshop is pretty typical. So I just guessed on that. Do the math how it works. But what I was looking at is this, is that you said you wanted to have a workshop in September and November. So I was like, okay, let me just see if she could do the workshop leading to clients and what this would look like. So if you did the workshop at $50 times 12 people, I'm like double checking my math, it is $600. So that immediately replaces your savings dip that you're taking out. Now, do you typically have 12 people? Do you always charge $50? I don't know these answers, but the idea is you see the math here. You may be able to cover the savings component with only the workshop. Now, yes, you're marketing the workshop, and I totally understand that, but a lot of people will pay for a one-time workshop, and it's a pretty low price. So when you can do this, you can save the savings, and then The goal is to book some clients based on that workshop. So let's say you booked one client at $400. This is below the number that you were talking about. So you said 1,400 for the 3 months, which 1,400 divided by 3 is 466. So I'm taking it just lower than that at 400. So you could say a discounted rate because what you could say is like, typically I charge $1,500 for 3 months, and I'm discounting it this because that would make it basically, instead of it being $500 a month, it's $100 off. That's what I would suggest that you do, is say for everyone in this workshop, you can actually get this at $400 a month or a total of whatever that is. And so if you booked one client from the workshop, which that conversion is totally doable, one client would replace half of what you wanted to, the $800, like 400 is half of that. All you would need is 2 clients from the workshop next month, which I know you're already thinking about referrals. So you may already have a few more people going, and that would really take you already to your goal. And if you repeated this again in November and started kind of getting people staggered a little bit, because that's the thing with working with clients on a 3-month basis, is you'll have to like stagger them a little bit so that you are staggering your income. But once you do that, you would hit this by the end of the year. Like you could hit it in the next few months. December is weird. So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't necessarily like be like, I can leave all the yoga studios because December can be a little funky with revenue and you may want to hold on to those, but you could do it. I'm really feeling confident that this is totally doable. I know you are not feeling confident, but when I broke this down based on math, and not just math, but based on the fact that you have interest, you have an email list, and you have clients already, I feel really strongly that you could do this. So I'm going to push this a little bit harder. I want you, if I were to wave my magic wand, what I would want you to do is really aim for this pretty hard in September and see if you can make this work. This funnel, which most people are doing with like a freebie and that sort of thing, like funneling in, if you can do this workshop on a every other month basis, that is the funnel. And basically what you would want to do is look at the conversion. What is your typical conversion? If you have 10 people, can you convert one? That's, the 10%. And so can you do that on a regular basis? Looking at that conversion, then you know exactly how many people you need in the workshop. And you could do them less frequently as you go forward. You could do them quarterly or whatever. But right now, I think this is a really good funnel for you, especially because you've seen it work. So I highly suggest that you move forward with this. And I can't wait to hear what you think. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of context to why I added this, because I was like, you're going to pop into this document and be like, what in the world? But I really like this idea. Let me know if you have any questions, because I know I just kind of sprung this on you. So let me know if you have questions on this and if you'd like me to take a look at that email. But thank you so much. I'm really cheering you on. I'm so excited for you. Thank you for allowing me to help you on this journey. You're doing amazing things, and your students and clients are so lucky to have you in their corner. So sometimes you just need an outside perspective. I hope you really enjoyed that example. And like I said, if it works for you, go for it. Because I really broke down a specific example of a workshop into a paid offering. But the goal here wasn't to give you that plan. The goal here was to show you that when you speak out into someone else and you talk to someone else about whatever you're overthinking, the decision you have to make, the content idea you're thinking about, maybe the change in your business you're thinking about, it gets more clear when you talk to someone else. Now, I will say, be selective of who you're talking to. Please don't talk to someone who hasn't done what you're looking to do or is going to talk you out of something that they don't think is possible or anything like that. Like, be selective with who you're talking to. But that's the first step, is talking to someone else about what you're overthinking. If you're overthinking something, call attention to it and say to a friend, to a coach, to a mentor, to whomever you need to talk to, and say, this is what I'm overthinking. I think this is what's happening. Ask me all the questions you can and try and work through it. The second thing is to know what level of accountability that you need. This is the second step that's very critical, because talking to someone is great. It's going to get you out of the stuckness and be like, oh, okay, I need to make this decision. So for my client who was like, oh, I need to make a content decision, she was overthinking it, thinking she needed more research. And she was like, okay, blogging's not it. Like, let's say she landed on YouTube, right? That she was like, okay, I'm going to create a YouTube channel and I'm going to create videos. Great. We got her unstuck from the decision. She moved forward with the decision, but implementing that decision, she still needed help with that. She's someone I work with on a regular basis because she knows what level of accountability she needs. She knows that by having someone on a weekly basis ask her, what are you going to do? And remembers what she said she was going to do, that is the accountability level that she needs. And so this is how I work with people, obviously, but you need to know what level you need. Do you need to tell your spouse or your partner what you are going to do and have that person check in with you or ask you about it every now and then? If that works, go for it. Do you need to find a biz bestie to work with on a regular basis and, find that peer-to-peer accountability and you be accountability buddies for each other? Or do you need a coach? Do you need a coach who's going to say, no, you don't need to do more research. You don't need to overthink this. Let's move forward. Let's move forward with confidence, knowing that you can pivot down the road. You have to know what you need. I ask all my clients when they start to work with me, why is it now? Why now do you want to work with a coach? Because that tells me a lot about where they are and where they've felt stuck. And a lot of people say things like, well, I didn't finish the project that I've been working on. And most people will fall into that camp. But one of my newest clients, her name is also Amy. It's a different Amy. But she said this, which I really appreciated. And I think it encompasses when you hear this, if it resonates with you, chances are working with a coach is a good idea. And she said, I need a check-in person to get it going and keep it going. And that was the thing. When you can get it going with a friend, with a spouse, with a partner, with whomever, and get a plan and be inspired. You can listen to a podcast episode like this one and be inspired. How do you keep it going? What level do you need to keep it going? Because you are still listening to this because you want to finish something. I don't know what it is that's on your heart, but I believe that it's possible. If you want to finish something, if you want to write that book, if you want to start that podcast, if you want to start your business, grow your business, run a marathon, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, that thing that's on your heart, how can you keep it going? What do you need in order to keep it going? I need you to ask yourself that and be really honest, knowing that it's awesome, whatever you need. The self-awareness of whatever you need is awesome. Go find it. Go find whatever you need and implement that so that you can finally finish the dang project, the goal, the dream that you have. Like, it is time. It is time to finish it. It's time. That's all I can say, is because if you are still listening to this, you want to finish the thing, whatever it is on your heart. So find what you need. So that's what I want you to think about in terms of your next step today. I gave you 2 steps to identify how you can go from overthinking to actually finishing a project, a goal, a dream. Number 1 is to talk it out with someone else. Tell someone what you're overthinking and get some support. Number 2, know what accountability you need to keep it going. You don't just need to be inspired. You need to keep it going or you'll never finish. So please do that. And if I seem like a great coach for you, please reach out. You can go to my website, amandamckinney.com/work with me to see what options are available. Or you can always email me at amanda@amandamckinney.com. Ask me what coaching options are available and what my availability is, because that, of course, changes depending on how many people I'm working with. So reach out. I promise you we'll find what works for you. If we're a great fit, I would love to work with you. If it doesn't work out, I'm sure I have resources I could share with you. References I can give to you if you're looking for something else. So don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to work with you or help you in any way I can, but I hope you feel inspired today to actually keep it going. So figure out what you need and go for it. So until next time, give yourself permission to finally finish that project and grace along the way. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful or inspiring, be sure to share it with someone else who could use it too. Sharing is caring, but it's also a huge boost to your accountability. Sharing this message and then talking about it will ensure that you actually take the action that was mentioned in this episode. Hello, accountability. There's nothing better than the feeling of actually following through, and I want that for you. So screenshot it, share it, and if you share it on Instagram, be sure to tag me at @TheAmandaMcKinney too. Until next time.